Welcome to Transformation Station Leadership Podcast, where we lead with clarity, grow with intention, and build resilience that lasts. I'm your host, Adrienne Benton, and today we're going to, in this bonus session, talk about what authentic leadership looks like, not just on a quote card, but in the quiet, courageous moments that actually shape culture. So here's the truth. You don't have to overshare to be real. You don't have to be raw to be relatable. And you don't have to be perfect to be powerful. I believe that authenticity is not about abandoning professionalism. It's about alignment. Alignment, the version of you your team sees should not be about performance. It should be a reflection of your presence. When leaders live and lead from that space, aligned, honest, and grounded, trust increases and tension decreases. When we lead from alignment, our teams can stop focusing on performance. Performance is important. Hear me. But they can stop making that the priority and can start making participation, the process, as the priority. And in this bonus segment here, we're going to dive into the practices that bring authentic leadership to life. From naming what's real to modeling imperfection to creating safe spaces where your team can breathe and belong. This is what it means to be polished but honest. And this is where true influence begins. So let's go ahead and dig right in. Okay, so in order to be authentic in our leadership, number one, we got to name what's real. Name what's real. What's real right now? What does that mean? That means, hey, for you and I as leaders, we need to speak to the pressure without dumping it. That's right. Speak to the pressure, but don't dump the pressure. Here's what I mean. Let your team know the pace, the stress, and the stretch, but through the lens of shared ownership, not personal burnout. Now, there are going to be some moments where the team has to work longer. There are going to be some seasons where there may be one or two people who have specialized skills on the team to be able to get something done. They may have to work a little bit deeper, harder, longer than some other members of the team at the moment. But guess what? As you speak to the pressure that the team is facing or will face, don't dump it. Boom, here it is. No, but give clarity. Talk to your team about the pace. Talk to your team about the stress that possibly will be incurred or that absolutely, most assuredly will be incurred, and the stretch, the long haul. You may not know exactly how long it's going to take to get the mission accomplished, but you can go ahead and preset the stage. Hey, guys, this is going to take a minute. And we're going to see this through to completion. We are going to see this through to completion. Right now, think about the stress. Think about what conversation you need to be able to have with your team as you talk about what's real about the season that you're in right now. If you're in a season where the team has to work hard, where there are lots of unknowns, or you're being called to do more with less, try saying something like, this season is stretching us. I'm feeling the pressure too. Let's look at what's working and let's look at what we need to adjust. Wow. When we do this, this builds psychological safety. Your team members can stop hiding how close they are to burnout when their leader does not pretend to be fine 24/7. Hear me again. I'm going to say this clearly. This builds psychological safety where your team members can stop hiding how close they are to burnout when their leader does not pretend to be fine 24/7. It may be a season where, again, you have to work harder, longer, a little bit more intense. But let there be clear communication. Be real. Name what is real. So the leadership principle here is acknowledging pressure is not a confession of weakness. It's an invitation to collaborate. Number 2, model imperfection. Own your miss, then model the pivot. Don't perform perfection, but show your team how to recover, how to reflect, how to rebuild from mistakes, imperfections, uncertainties, or spontaneous. Say something like, I missed that step last week. I own it. I've learned from it. Let's learn from it and move forward as a team. There's no I in team. Shared. This builds a team culture of responsibility without shame. When you go first, others feel safe to follow. What's the leadership principle here? If your team never sees your mistakes, if they never hear you acknowledge, if they never understand that you are not perfect, you are progressive, they will assume that they are not allowed to make any mistakes. They're not allowed to have a bad day. They're not allowed to miss the mark either. Number 3, create safe spaces. When we create safe spaces, we ask intentional questions that invite honesty. Don't just ask, how are you? Ask, what's one thing you've been carrying that we could help make lighter? Now listen, I know sometimes as leaders we stay away from asking questions like that because for some of us it's like, I don't have time, I don't have the space, I don't have the capacity to one more help, to one more way of helping someone else, to one more thing. But guess what? It's important that we ask intentional questions that invite honesty. If you don't want your team to just sit and complain, then they need to know that there's a safe space where they can be honest. You may not necessarily be able to do anything about their honesty, but at least you will give them the opportunity to be heard. Man, that's so vital and that is so important. Many of our employees are disgruntled. They're frustrated, they're upset because they feel like, Freudian slip, because they feel like they're not being heard. When we ask questions like, what's one thing you've been carrying that we could help make lighter? Was there anything that has been occurring recently that you perceived that leadership missed? Did you try to share an idea that no one paid attention to? When we ask these type of questions, it normalizes support. That's so important. And it eliminates the performance of I'm fine leadership. There are going to be those seasons and times where you as the leader, you've got to carry the vision. That's right. And it's okay. You have to be the one to say, hey, the team failed, but guess what? I failed because the team failed. But really and truly, it's not about failure. It's about progression. It's about moving forward. It's about team. It's about collaboration. And when we normalize support, we eliminate the performance of I'm fine leadership. So rather than you having to grasp at straws and pull for someone to be honest, to tell you what's really going on, when we normalize support, we eliminate people feeling as though they can't say what's real. And we open the door for communication, true, honest, authentic communication to really happen. One leader I worked with, a senior manager, noticed that her high-performing team was slowing down, missing small deadlines, and not speaking up in meetings. And she started her next one-on-one by asking, what's one thing on your plate that feels heavier than it should right now? The team member looked up stunned and said, I didn't think I was allowed to admit that. But I've been overwhelmed by trying to cover for someone else on the team, and I'm drowning. When was the last time that your team members had the opportunity to tell you what's real without you judging, without you instantly coming back and telling them why they shouldn't feel that way, without you interrupting them, but giving them the opportunity to complete their full sentences, letting there be a moment of silence so that they can understand that you're listening and you're processing and then responding, not reacting to what they just shared with you. Because the conversation that this senior manager had with her team member, it led to a workflow fix, it led to better boundaries, and most importantly, it led to trust. And the leadership principle here is people can't be brave or innovative in spaces where they are busy pretending that they're okay. I want you to think about it from your perspective as a leader. When you are pretending that you're okay, how innovative are you in those seasons? How creative are you? How brave are you? How courageous are you when you are in those seasons where you have to pretend that you are okay? I dare say for most people, when we are in those seasons and we have to pretend, there's an extra stress and a strain that's in us physiologically and also psychologically. We'll get the job done, but we're not as innovative, not as creative, and definitely not as brave or courageous as we could be if we were leading authentically. And then finally, real talk. Authentic leadership is not weakness. Being honest is not weakness. Being clear is not weakness. Having integrity and fostering trust is not weakness. Let's be clear. Being real does not make you less respectable. It makes you more trustworthy, approachable, and human. Remember, the goal is not to be perfect, but to be progressive. You're still polished. You still show up prepared, focused, and clear. And if you're leading from a season where you're not prepared, you're not focused, and you're not clear, then this is a great moment right now to acknowledge that and to reset. Reset. And don't try to bite and take everything all at once. Reset step by step. So if you're not prepared at work, if you're not focused at work, if you're not clear at work, how can you start with one of those? Like literally tomorrow, how can you be clearer? How can you share and express clarity? How can you be more focused? Do you need to write a to-do list before you go to work tomorrow? When you get to work, do you need to close your door and say, you know what, I'm going to take the first 15 minutes, the first half an hour to just go through my emails, to write my to-do list, to engage with myself, to get clarity on what my day is going to be like and what the team needs to accomplish before I start communicating with everyone else? How can you enable yourself as a leader to be prepared? But now the polish isn't hiding anything when we're authentic. It's reflecting truth. I have a Transformation Station Leadership Podcast original quote for you, and that is this: people don't follow polished titles, they follow trusted voices. It's not your position necessarily that will cause people to follow you authentically. It's your trusted voice. It's your trusted voice. It's the psychological safety. It's the encouragement. It's the drive to keep things moving forward for the team to build community. It's a trusted voice that people follow. So if you want to build resilient teams, start by being a resilient human. Show up being grounded. Show up being honest. Show up being aligned. This is where influence lives. I want to invite you right now in your journal or in whatever you use to take notes. I want you to write this question down. And the question says, where in my leadership do I feel the most pressure to perform? And what truth would I lead with instead? Where in my leadership do I feel the most pressure to perform? And what truth would I lead with instead? When you write this down, I want to invite you to not just write it down, but to write it down, to read it, to reflect, and to answer the question. Write it down, read it, reflect, and answer the question. This is really important because this is how we move forward. That's right. All right, now. So here's the thing. Authenticity in leadership is not a trend. It's a trust strategy. You don't have to lead loudly to be effective. You don't have to have it all together to be respected. You just have to lead from alignment with clarity, humility, and truth. Because when you show up as a grounded leader, not just a polished performer, your team doesn't just follow you, they trust you. And that kind of trust creates resilience, and it builds culture, and it outlasts every leadership buzzword. So here's your final reminder. You're not leading to impress, you're leading to impact. Stay honest, stay present, and lead well.